25 years of studying Japanese and over 15 years translating it professionally have led me to this moment in time when I answer the question of a generation and bring the otaku community together once and for all.
You know you found the Holy Grail when you find a girl as excited about a boob bag as Marin is.
Boob Bag gif incoming? Jesus, that animation.
This title out of pocket, bro. Making me want to be a boob bag for Maureen.
And thus, the Boob Bag saga begins.
Boob Bag supremacy!
What's a boob bag?
It's all about the boob bags all day, every day.
Hello everyone and welcome to... Oops, hang on a minute. Hello everyone and welcome to this month's video. This is actually a part 2 to my last video about the translations in My Dress Up Darling. In the last scene I featured, where Marin tries on her cosplay for the first time, she uses the term boob bag to describe the chest part of her costume, and as much as I praised those translations in that video, that one part really made my brain hurt. See, this boob bag of which Marin spoke is chichi bukuro in Japanese. And it's true, if you isolate the two kanji, chichi and fukuro, they do technically mean breast and bag, but that's not exactly what it really means. Bukuro, or fukuro as it's sometimes pronounced, doesn't actually just mean bag, for example. A quick trip to jisho.org will show you it also means sack, pouch, skin of an orange, dead end, plot of land surrounded by water, and if you add an O before it, ofukuro means mom. And look at what happens when you add fukuro as a suffix to te, or hand. It becomes tebukuro. Now is that hand bag? No, it's gloves. So you could think of chichibukuro as boob gloves, which, as silly as it sounds, actually is a little closer to what it really means. You know the expression fits like a glove, as in to describe a garment that perfectly hugs all the curves and contours of the human body? Further in my research, I found a Japanese definition of chichibukuro on Webronza Asahi. Translated, it reads, Chichibukuro is a way of drawing clothing on large-breasted manga characters that hugs the body line so closely that the breasts look like they might as well be completely naked. What really makes a chichibukuro is that you can clearly see the shape of a woman's breasts, especially the cleavage and underboob, just like you would if she were wearing a bikini. And then there's a picture of Uzaki-chan, since she epitomizes that. And that, my friends, is what a chichibukuro is. A quick Japanese Google image search will confirm. I see a lot of boobs, but no bags. But I do see clothing hugging breasts in such a way that you can really see every luscious detail. I see full, lifted, very round, not at all flattened, huge, lovely boobies. Let me emphasize that a chichibukuro is a stylized, sexualized way of drawing clothed breasts. It's all about the underboob. Real clothes and real breasts don't really interact in that way, so it signals to the viewer, attention, attention, behold them titties, you have permission to be horny. And this can be great and fun in some contexts, but not so great and fun in other contexts. And the ethics of anime titties deserves its own 3-act musical video essay. But this video is only about linguistics here, so let me leave you with this disclaimer. Some anime titties, but not all anime titties, are good actually. So that's chichibukuro in a nutshell, or in a boob shell. But if you were to describe that phenomenon in English, what would you call it? I know, by now you would probably call it boob bag because I already put that suggestion in your head. And hold that thought, we'll revisit it later. But I asked my normie husband what he would call that phenomenon, and he was stumped. And he loves boobs, mind you. We both love boobs, and neither of us could think of an English term that describes clothing clinging so tightly to a woman. Neither of us could really think of an existing English word that describes clothing that lifts and hugs breasts in such a way that their shape is not flattened or distorted. God, I need a teleprompter. And neither of us could really think of an existing English word that describes clothes that lifts and hugs breasts in such a way that they are not flattened or distorted and their shape is perfectly preserved. There's push-up bras, sure, but that's a specific garment, not the phenomenon in general. So I turned to Twitter to see what the general English-speaking otaku populace thought. First I showed them these drawings and asked everyone how they would describe the clothing fit and drawing style of the titties. I added the caveat pre-2022 to eliminate the possibility of boob bag coming from the My Dress Up Darling anime. And I got a lot of fun answers.
Boob-centric fabric rendition.
Vacuum artistic license clothing.
Boob shirt?
Like a shirt with a boob pocket?
Boob socks.
Skin tight, maybe?
Portals to the boob zone.
I think boob socks or pockets is more when the fabric conforms to both breasts totally independently.
Physics-defying boobies?
Vacuum clothing?
I think boob prison is a really funny term, but besides that, I don't know.
Titty clinger.
Artist has never seen a real woman with a large bust.
The only answers that were repeated a few times were boob socks, boob pockets, and just plain skin tight. Then as a follow-up, I conducted a very scientific Twitter poll in which I asked my followers where they first heard the term boob bag to describe this phenomenon. And the majority answered this poll, while the second most popular answer was my dress-up darling. And no wonder, even the dub is calling it a boob bag.
I didn't know these boob bag things could look so realistic. It's probably because this is the best boob bag here.
Still, a few people had heard the term boob bag used before my dress-up darling, so it's definitely not entirely new, which led me to ask the question, where did the English translation of boob bag come from? Since it didn't originate with my dress-up darling's translations, where was it coined? See, I should write shorter lines to deliver to the camera. After some digging, I found a Sora news post from 2017. This was 1 year before the My Dress Up Darling manga started, so it predates My Dress Up Darling 100%. It highlighted a tweet by Japanese Twitter user Moyugen, who drew different styles of clothed boobs in anime and manga and outlined what those terms were called in Japanese. Moyugen's sketch had these terms: chichi bukuro, chichi tento, and chichi katen. Tento and katen are pretty straightforward as they're actually just the English words tent and curtain. And I presume that Casey Bassel, the writer of this article, is the one who translated chichibukuro as boob bag. As far as I can tell, this might have been the first appearance of boob bag in English language anime titty discourse, but I'd need further research to confirm this. And I kind of want to get this video out before the world ends, so yeah. So if I can come to one conclusion about chichibukuro, it's that while it has been translated as boob bag a few times, there is no universally known word for it yet in English. But there should be. And judging by the comments beneath the episodes on Crunchyroll and in Reddit, the term boob bag is already starting to catch on. And I have mixed feelings about that. See, when I hear boob bag, I think of saggy boobs. I think baggy, like bags under the eyes. Also, if you Google boob bag in English, you're just going to find a lot of tote bags with pictures of breasts on them, tote bags for lactating people, or fanny packs worn across the boobs. Boob bag kind of already has a meaning, and the dominant definition has nothing to do with epic cosplay boobage. And vocalization note, whenever you have two words strung together and word A's final consonant is the same as the consonant that starts word B, the two words sort of run together. Boob ends in B and bag begins in B, so boob bag runs into this challenge. Boob bag becomes boob bag, which sounds like boo bag. See how it's a little unclear and starts to sound like it's a tote bag for ghosts? And I don't fault the translator of My Dress Up Darling for translating it as boob bag. After all, it has appeared a little in cosplay discourse before, and it's not technically wrong. Like, just because I don't personally vibe with the translation, that doesn't mean it's wrong. Just, I figured I should make it really clear I'm not bashing the translation or the translator here, and reminding everyone that just because you don't like a translation, that doesn't mean it's wrong. What I'm trying to say is that I think we're really missing an opportunity here. I think we could be using a term that strays a little from the literal translation and is much more fun to say than boob bag. But who really cares what I think? No, really, I'm not being facetious here. Who cares what I think? I'm just one person. If I were more famous or culturally relevant in the otaku sphere, I could have more pull on which words become slang and which words don't. But slang usually forms organically by a big group of people, not by a middle-aged translator with fewer than 13,000 subscribers. I'm not sure how much of the otaku community is aware of this, but a few Japaneseisms have crept into our English over the past few decades, for better or worse, because of the way certain translators were translating Japanese words and phrases. Those of you who follow me on Twitter or who saw my video, Why Don't Translators Sub Anime the Way I Like, know I have issues with confess being used to describe asking someone to be your boyfriend or girlfriend. Now, it might sound perfectly normal to you to read the subtitle, Marin is going to confess to Gojo-kun today after school. You automatically know that Marin is going to tell Gojo that she has feelings for him. But that actually is not natural sounding English to the greater English-speaking world. Another one is the phrase, I won't forgive you. You've probably seen lots of anime characters say that phrase. It's one of Sailor Moon's catchphrases, in fact. It comes from the Japanese yurusanai. Fellow translator Katrina did a great thread about yurusanai, but to sum it up briefly, the Japanese verb yurusu has a lot of nuances that the English word forgive simply does not. And likewise, forgive has a lot of nuances that yurusu does not. Yurusu can mean to allow and to tolerate as well as to forgive. You can yurusu someone for something they haven't done yet, but you forgive someone for something they've already done wrong. Forgive usually tends to have a negative nuance to it, while yurusu doesn't necessarily. And forgive also has religious connotations, since Christianity is such a big part of the culture of most English speakers. Okay, can we all take a moment and appreciate how hilarious it is that when I did a Google image search for the words God and forgive, that this particular image came up and it happened to have the word confess in it as well. In the context that it's usually intended in English, it just hammers the point home. So since yurusu and forgive are not one-to-one equivalents, yurusu should not always be translated as forgive. It should instead be translated in a way that works best within the given context. Something like, over my dead body, or I won't allow it, or if you leave a comment on this video without watching at least half of it first, you'll pay dearly, or that self-indulgent joke was unfunny and inexcusable. But does that mean that you, an otaku watching this video, are wrong for thinking that I'm going to confess today and I won't forgive you sound perfectly normal? No, you're not wrong. Words mean what we think they mean.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
No, but words do mean what we think they mean if enough people think they mean the same thing. It's how the word literally came to mean figuratively, and how the word sick came to mean awesome.
You are so embarrassing! I am literally dying of embarrassment!
You know, I really wish you would look up the word literally, because...
It's why if I say, I feel nauseous, most English speakers know that I mean that I feel sick to my stomach, not that I feel like I smell so putrid that I'm making other people around me feel nauseated. See, that is technically the correct usage of the word. I feel nauseated is correct, whereas I feel nauseous is incorrect. But since enough people say I feel nauseous to mean I feel nauseated, I feel nauseous has become correct. And I wouldn't be surprised if Boob Bag went the same way as forgive or confess did, and a few years from now, cosplayers and otaku are throwing around the term boob bag without thinking twice about it. And again, that's not necessarily wrong or a bad thing. I just think it's fascinating that we might be witnessing the birth of a new term in English otaku speak, a term that might even migrate out of our subculture and into normie conversations in the future. Language is fluid, and it's really fun watching it take shape. But since it's still newish, and I don't think it's entirely caught on yet, I'm going to propose some alternatives to boob bag that I think not only more accurately describe the phenomenon, but are just so much more fun to say. Ready? I humbly present for your consideration.
Titty shelf.
Cleavage cave.
Booby bubble!
Boob socks.
Boobatuba.
Milk cartons.
Melon ballers. Wonder blouse.
Mammary magnifiers.
And my personal favorite, titty pouch. Feel free to weigh in and contribute your suggestions below. And of course, there also is the option of just keeping it chichi bukuro and adopting it into otaku lingo like we did with isekai, tsundere, moe, chunibyo, and so many other words. Chichi bukuro is such a cute and fun word to say, and maybe we should just keep it in Japanese. Make it a little more, discreet, so normies will think we're talking about something sophisticated and classically Japanese instead of anime titties. Well, thank you for indulging me in my contribution to this very important discourse. And thanks to all my friends who gave me recordings of themselves talking about boobies. It's okay, it's not like any of us are running for president or anything. Also, thank you to my patrons who give me money so I can do very opulent things like eat food and pay my electricity bill and stuff. I'd especially like to thank Greg, Lay, and Henry Roaming.
Okay, if I get to $3,000 a month on Patreon by the end of March, I'm going to make that 3-act musical video essay about anime titties. I really will. This is not a bit. Call my bluff. Patreon.com/SarahKTranslate. This is water, by the way.